Right now, the entire planet has lost its mind. Billions of people are painted in their country's colors. Streets are empty, offices are suspiciously quiet, and somewhere in a stadium, grown adults are crying over a ball. The FIFA World Cup is here. And then, there's you, sitting on the couch, completely unbothered. Maybe even slightly confused about why everyone else is acting like the fate of humanity depends on a penalty kick. You're not broken, you're not cold, and you're definitely not alone. Because the psychology of people who don't care about the World Cup says something genuinely fascinating about how your brain is wired. Stay with me. Here's something important to understand first. The reason billions of people care so deeply about football, and especially the World Cup, isn't really about football. It's about belonging. Psychologists call it social identity theory. The idea that we define who we are, not just by our own qualities, but by the groups we belong to. My country, my team, my people. Cheering for a national team isn't just cheering for 11 people kicking a ball. It's saying, I exist. I belong somewhere. We are one. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans survived by being part of a tribe. Belonging wasn't optional, it was survival. And that instinct is still running in the background of every human brain. So when you feel nothing during the World Cup, that's not a character flaw. That's just your brain saying, I find my tribe elsewhere. Think about what the World Cup actually asks of you. It asks you to invest your emotions, your time, your stress, your joy into a game whose result you have zero control over. It asks you to feel like a winner or a loser, based entirely on what 11 strangers do with their feet. And for some people, that trade makes no psychological sense. People who don't connect with sports fandom tend to have what psychologists call an individually constructed identity. They don't need a team's victory to feel validated. They derive their sense of self from their own work, their relationships, their ideas. They don't need to borrow someone else's win to feel like they matter. Now, this isn't about being superior. Plenty of incredibly intelligent, emotionally complex people are obsessed with football. The tribal pull is just genuinely that strong. But for people who feel nothing during the World Cup, they've often already built their identity somewhere else, somewhere they actually have control over. Here's where it gets really interesting. Research into sports disengagement consistently shows one pattern. People who feel indifferent toward major sporting events tend to score higher in introversion and in a trait called need for cognition, the genuine enjoyment of complex thinking and ideas. The World Cup, at its emotional core, is a high-stimulation, group energy, tribal bonding experience. It's loud, it's collective, it runs on shared emotion. For someone who recharges alone, finds crowds draining, and prefers depth over spectacle, that environment isn't just unappealing, it's actively exhausting. It's not that they can't feel excitement, it's that their excitement lives somewhere different. It lives in a book they can't put down at midnight, in a problem they've been turning over for days, in a conversation that goes so deep, neither person notices 3 hours have passed. The World Cup doesn't bore them because they're emotionally flat. It bores them because their emotional world is already full. Let's talk about the part nobody mentions. During the World Cup, not caring becomes almost a social crime. Colleagues assume you're watching. Family group chats explode. Someone asks you which team you're supporting. And when you say, I don't really follow it, the silence that follows is immense. There's a term for this in psychology, pluralistic ignorance. The idea that everyone privately holds a certain view, but publicly conforms to what they think the group expects. A huge number of people quietly watching the World Cup have no strong feelings about it either way. They're there because everyone is there. Because opting out feels like opting out of humanity itself. Not caring about the World Cup takes a quiet kind of confidence, because it means being comfortable, sitting outside the world's biggest shared moment, and being genuinely okay with that. That's not detachment. That's psychological self-awareness. Here's the real psychological question. Underneath all of this, it's not about football, it's about where you find meaning. The World Cup works as a meaning machine for billions of people. It creates stakes, narrative, tension, and release. It makes a month of life feel like it matters because something genuinely matters in it. People who don't connect with that aren't meaningless. They've just found their stakes somewhere else. Maybe it's a creative project that keeps them up at night. Maybe it's a relationship they pour everything into. Maybe it's a question about the world they can't stop thinking about. They don't need a World Cup final to feel the weight of a moment. Their life already has those moments. They just look different from everyone else's. And there is something quietly profound about a person who has built their own source of meaning, rather than borrowing it from the calendar. So the next time someone looks at you like you've committed a crime for not knowing the World Cup scores, you can just smile. Because you now know something most people don't even think to ask. The people who don't care about the World Cup aren't missing something. They just find their belonging, their meaning, and their excitement in places that don't come with a fixture list. They think independently. They resist group pressure without drama. And they've built a life where the stakes are personal, not borrowed. The world is watching the match, and that's completely fine. So is not watching it. Now I want to hear from you. Are you someone who genuinely doesn't care about the World Cup? Or are you secretly watching while pretending you don't? Drop a comment below and tell me, where do you find your version of the World Cup energy? I'm Wired Minds. See you in the next one. Before you go show your love by hitting that subscribe button, hope you have a lovely day.